Meghan Markle has just made the judge of Australian MasterChef, a household name, beloved figure in Australia, Poh Ling Yeow.
She smiled for every camera. She shook every hand. She laughed along with the other judges, lit up the set, and made Australia fall in love with her all over again. And that was the problem. Because the moment Poh Ling Yeow walked into that MasterChef kitchen warmer, funnier, and better liked than the woman flown in to headline the whole thing, something shifted. And by the end of filming, Poh wasn't smiling anymore. She was in tears. Now, weeks later, with the episode nearly upon us and the whispers from Sydney growing louder by the hour, Poh Ling Yeow has finally broken her silence. And what she said, and what she hasn't, tells you everything you need to know about what really happened on that set. Stay with me, because this one doesn't just scratch the surface. This one goes all the way down. Setting the scene. Let's take it back to April. Meghan Markle flies into Sydney, business class no doubt, for what was billed as her big Australian moment. A guest appearance on MasterChef Australia, one of the most beloved cooking shows on the planet, with one of the most beloved judging panels in television history. And Poh Ling Yeow, she is the jewel in that crown. 8 years of warmth, wit, and genuine talent. A woman the entire country adores. The kind of person who walks into a room and immediately makes it better. So here's the setup. You've got Poh, generous, funny, deeply loved, standing next to Meghan Markle, who arrived with a very specific instruction for the entire production team. Do not call her royalty. Not the word, not a reference, not even in passing. The same woman who reportedly has her assistant announce her as the Duchess of Sussex before she enters a room. The same woman who slaps that title on everything she touches, flew halfway around the world and told the MasterChef team that the word royalty was off the table. Let that sit for a second. Now here's what happened next, because this is where the story turns. The moment that changed everything. Poh Ling Yeow, being Poh, warm, generous, the woman the whole country trusts, introduced Meghan on air with a compliment. She welcomed her as MasterChef royalty. A compliment, a smile, a genuine, lovely thing to say. And the room went cold. According to multiple sources speaking to New Idea, Meghan's reaction was immediate and unmistakable. The warmth shut off like a tap. Her team reportedly threw a fit. Poor Poh, mortified, reportedly wanted to go over, to apologize, to fix it, and was told by someone to leave it alone. And here's where it gets even worse. A significant chunk of what was filmed that day, gone, quietly vanished in the edit. When a production team starts cutting footage of their own headline guest, the person they built the whole episode around, that is not a bad day on set, that is a cleanup operation. The word from Sydney is ugly, and it was ugly before a single frame aired. So I need to ask you this. Drop it in the comments right now. If someone called you royalty as a compliment, how would you react? A smile? A thank you? Or would you send your team in to kill the footage? Because the answer to that question tells you exactly who you're dealing with. Poh breaks her silence. Now let's talk about what Poh has actually said, because this is where it gets nuanced, and where you have to read between the lines. In the early promotional cycle, for the episode, when Channel 10 needed the wheels to turn smoothly, and everyone needed to be seen smiling, Poh gave the expected quotes. Meghan was wonderful. It was a great experience. All very positive, all very managed. And then the reports started leaking out of Sydney, and the story changed, because Poh stopped selling it. She stopped going out of her way to defend Meghan. The effusive praise dried up, and what replaced it was something far more telling. A careful, measured silence that said everything the positive quotes couldn't. In this business, silence is a statement. When someone has genuinely had a wonderful experience with a guest, they shout about it. They go back on socials. They share the clips. They're enthusiastic right up to air date and beyond. Poh Ling Yeow is not doing that. And when accounts emerged claiming she had been left in tears on set, she didn't leap out to deny it. She didn't go on record with a glowing defense of Meghan Markle. She let the silence breathe. That silence, in a country where everyone knows and loves Poh, landed like a thunderclap, the pattern nobody can explain away. Here's what the Meghan defense squad always says. It was a misunderstanding. It was taken out of context. The media hates her. The palace is briefing against her. There's a coordinated campaign to destroy her reputation. Fine. Let's say that's true for one incident, maybe even two, But here is the list, and I want you to really look at it. Palace staff, 2018. 2 personal assistants, both gone within months. A formal HR complaint filed in writing by a senior aide saying Meghan had bullied them out of the household. Staff who had served the royal family for decades decided that a job at Kensington Palace wasn't worth being in the same room as her. The nickname Duchess Difficult was circulating before most of the world even knew her face. By 2021, reports coming out of the palace described staff routinely ending up in tears. Not occasionally, routinely. One aide, a professional, experienced, seasoned, reportedly told a colleague she couldn't stop shaking before a scheduled meeting with Meghan. Shaking before a meeting. Then the move to Hollywood, and the same story followed her off the plane. People who worked inside the Montecito operation described a nightmare working environment. Reports ran in Vanity Fair, The Hollywood Reporter, and beyond. These aren't tabloids desperate for a headline. These are serious outlets with serious sourcing. Then came the charity blow-up, a public bullying row so bad it ran in the papers for weeks. And the people who worked for her and made it out, they gave themselves a name. Not a fan club, not a support group. They called themselves the Sussex Survivors Club. Survivors. That is the word they chose for themselves. One person ending up upset? Bad luck. 2. Coincidence. An 8-year trail across 3 continents, from London to Los Angeles to Sydney, with a new name added every couple of years? That is not bad luck. That is a pattern. And patterns don't lie. The cooking show nobody watched. Now let's talk about the elephant in the MasterChef kitchen. Because before we can understand why Meghan was in Sydney at all, we need to talk about what happened to her Netflix show. 0. Not low, not disappointing. 0% from the critics. A score so rare you almost have to try for it. She pitched herself as a lifestyle expert, a home cook, a hostess, a domestic goddess. She built an entire brand around the idea that she belongs in a kitchen. She told the world, through every platform available to her, that cooking was her love language, her passion, her gift to share. And then the critics saw the show. The reviews didn't just say it was bad, they said there was nothing there. No expertise, no technique, no credibility behind the apron. One reviewer reportedly noted that the only reason anyone tuned in was the faint hope Harry might wander through the background. The show couldn't crack Netflix's top 300. 300, a real duchess, on camera, in her own kitchen, and the viewing public would rather watch something else, anything else. Season 2 came and went with barely a ripple, and she still talks about it like it was a cultural moment. Here's the detail that crystallizes all of it. By multiple accounts, Meghan barely uses her own kitchen. There's staff for that. When the cameras needed food to look good, real chefs were brought in, trained professionals who gave 20 years to their craft, standing just off frame, making sure the presentation held up while Meghan stood in front of the lens and took the bow. She's even admitted she has, quote, a lot to learn in the kitchen. A lot to learn. And then she flew to Sydney to judge actual chefs on a cooking competition. Cook from the heart, she told them, to professionals competing for their livelihoods, under hot lights, against the clock. The contestants, by all accounts, clocked it immediately. They kept walking straight past Meghan to ask the other judges for help. She was the biggest name on the set, given front and center billing, and the cooks treated her like furniture. The challenge nobody could make up. Now here is the detail that, when you hear it, genuinely sounds like something from a satire. The cooking challenge Meghan set for the contestants that day: cook a dish fit for a duchess. Sit with that. This is the woman who arrived on set with one standing instruction: do not call me royalty. Do not use the word. Keep it away from me. And then she presided over a challenge called Cook a Dish Fit for a Duchess. Her own title, her own royal status, the exact thing she had banned an hour before. One rule for the little people, and another rule entirely when the title is helping her sell something. Some royal commentators believe the entire episode may actually contravene the so-called Sandringham Summit Agreement, the terms under which Harry and Meghan stepped back from royal duties. Because whatever was agreed in those rooms, using the Duchess of Sussex title, as the concept engine of a paid television appearance on a commercial network seems like it pushes hard against the spirit of those terms. She was paid for this appearance, a significant check from Channel 10, and the selling point, the reason the audience was meant to care, was her royal status. The thing she banned in the same breath. You genuinely could not make it up. The giggle nobody forgot. And while we're building the full picture, let's not leave out Paris. Because the MasterChef footage isn't the first time a camera caught something Meghan would rather nobody saw. Paris Fashion Week, Balenciaga, front row, full cameras, the whole world watching. A model comes down the runway, stumbles, and hits the floor. A horrible moment for a young woman in front of a global audience. And Meghan laughed. She caught herself almost immediately. The second she clocked a camera was on her. The face flipped back to soft and composed. She found the lens the way she always does, but the clip had already gone everywhere. The internet did not need long to reach a verdict. Zero class. Mean girl. A grown woman giggling at a young woman falling in public. Her companion in that moment, reportedly a close friend, very visibly did not join in. He turned away, kept his face straight, kept his cool. The contrast was stark. That is not a misunderstanding. That is not being taken out of context. That is a reflex. That is what leaks out when the mask slips for 2 seconds before the camera can be found. The distraction machine. So, the MasterChef story breaks. The Sydney sources are talking. New idea runs it. The word crying is in the headline. What does Meghan do? Step 1. A friendly American magazine, the one that effectively runs as her PR desk, these days publishes a warm little counter-narrative, sourced, naturally, to someone close to Meghan. She had a wonderful time. Everyone adored her. The frustration reports are disputed. No name, no specific detail, just someone close to Meghan. Step 2. Instagram, which had been quiet for weeks, suddenly erupts. Holiday photos, beach shots, the picture-perfect family living their picture-perfect life. Look over here, look at the smoothies, look at the sunset, don't look at Sydney. And here's the detail that tells you everything you need to know about the timing. Those photos dropped on the exact birthday of a certain young working royal. So on the one day the actual royal family was meant to be getting warm coverage, the timeline was flooded with Meghan's content. She just can't help herself. And then, this is the one that should stop everyone in their tracks. She posted a photo from Althorp, Diana's family home, the place where Princess Diana rests, slipped in between the beach shots and the lifestyle content like a piece of scenery for the brand. A viewer said it better than anyone in the comment sections could. Nothing is sacred to this woman. She is drowning in a story about her own cruelty, so she reaches for her dead mother-in-law's home to make herself look soft and grieving and human. That is not grief, that is a strategy. But let's stay on the distraction machine a moment longer, because it is worth understanding exactly how sophisticated the operation is and how precisely it is calibrated to the news cycle.
When the Sydney story first broke, the timeline of Meghan's social content shifted within hours, not days, hours. The beach photos weren't a coincidence. They were a response, a counter-program dropped with the kind of speed that only happens when someone is monitoring the coverage in real time and has content ready to deploy on short notice. That is not the behavior of someone living peacefully off the grid in
Montecito, unbothered by what people are saying. That is a war room. That is a team watching dashboards and pulling levers the moment a headline turns unfavorable. And this is the part that never gets discussed enough, because the smoothies and the flower petals and the golden hour family photography, none of it is spontaneous, none of it is organic. It is a machine, a very expensive, very well-staffed machine, running 24 hours a day, whose entire purpose is to make you feel like you are glimpsing someone's real life, when what you are actually seeing is a managed output designed to drown out whatever you were thinking about 30 seconds ago. The Althorp photo is the clearest example yet of how that machine operates at its most cynical. Althorp is not Meghan's family home. It is not her grief. Diana was not her mother. And yet the image was posted in a way that invited exactly that emotional association. The grieving daughter-in-law, honoring a legacy, still connected to the woman the world loved most. It is extraordinarily calculated. And the timing, dropped while the MasterChef fallout was circulating, while Australian commentators were dissecting what happened on that set, was not accidental. It was armor, soft, sentimental armor, stitched together from someone else's tragedy and deployed to protect a brand that was taking hits. If you needed one image that showed you exactly who is running this operation and how they think about the public, that is the one. What this really is. Let's call this what it is. Poh Ling Yeow did not set out to cause trouble. She walked onto that set the way she always does. Warm, funny, generous, completely herself. She introduced Meghan the way she'd introduce anyone she wanted to welcome, with enthusiasm and a genuine compliment. And she ended up in tears, not because she did anything wrong, not because she was difficult or demanding or unprofessional, but because in Meghan's world, being brighter and better loved than the headline guest is an offense you don't get warned about. You just pay for it. Poh is one of the most beloved figures in Australian television. She has been on MasterChef for 8 years. The audience trusts her completely. And when the story broke, when it came out that she had been left crying on set, the reaction across Australia was not disbelief, it was recognition. Because Poh doesn't lie, and Australia knows that. The fact that she didn't leap out to deny it, the fact that she quietly let the reporting stand, the fact that the praise she gave in the promotional phase didn't survive contact with the full story. That is Poh telling you, in the only way someone that decent would ever tell you, what happened in that kitchen. And here is what I want you to think about. What kind of person, in what kind of headspace, walks onto the set of a beloved television institution, a show that welcomed them as a guest, that gave them a platform, that set them up to look good, and manages, within a single day of filming, to leave one of the nation's most cherished personalities in tears? What does that take? What does that reveal? And here is the second question, the one that matters just as much. What does the response tell you? Because Meghan did not reach out to Poh. There was no quiet phone call, no acknowledgement, no warmth extended in private to the woman who was now publicly linked to a story about being left crying. Just silence. And then, right on cue, the Instagram machine switched on, and the content started flowing again. That silence is the most revealing thing of all. Because if any of this was a misunderstanding, if Poh had simply been having a hard day, if the set had been tense for reasons that had nothing to do with the guest, the natural human response would be to reach out and say so, quietly, privately, with no cameras and no PR benefit, just one person to another. That did not happen. Which means one of two things is true. Either Meghan knows exactly what happened and prefers the silence, or she genuinely did not register that she had caused harm, which, depending on how you read the pattern, may actually be the more disturbing possibility. The final count. Let's go through the list one more time, because the full picture deserves to be seen clearly. A Netflix cooking show that scored 0 from the critics. Recipes accused of being lifted from Martha Stewart. A claim so pointed that Martha was asked about it to her face and responded with a silence that said everything. A second show accused of borrowing from Pamela Anderson's format, nearly shot for shot. Palace staff, multiple assistants bullied out of the household before the ink on the royal wedding was dry. A formal HR complaint filed in writing. Aides shaking before scheduled meetings. A charity blow-up that ran in the national press for weeks. Reports from Vanity Fair and The Hollywood Reporter detailing the working environment in Montecito. Legal proceedings from the Archewell organization, now reportedly heading to court. A model laughed at from the front row of a fashion show. And now Poh Ling Yeow. Beloved, decent, adored by a whole country. Left in tears on a set she has called home for nearly a decade. By a guest who arrived with a ban on a single word and left with a trail of damage behind her. 8 years, 3 continents. The same story, the same pattern, the same ending. And through all of it, the same performance, the kindness speeches, the be gentle messaging, the soft lighting, and the smoothies, and the flower petals. The brand of a woman who cares deeply about the feelings of others, deployed to the world by someone who can reduce a beloved television personality to tears and then post holiday photos before the day is out. The thing about a pattern is that it eventually stops being deniable. 1 incident is an anomaly, 2 is a coincidence, 3 is a trend. But somewhere past 10, past the palace staff and the charity reports and the Paris runway and the Archewell legal filings and Poh Ling Yeow, somewhere in that list, The word coincidence stops fitting in the sentence. You are left with something simpler and harder to look away from. You are left with character, with who someone is, not who their brand says they are, with what they do when the approval is not immediately guaranteed, when the room does not immediately bend toward them, when someone else, warmer, more beloved, more naturally at home, takes up more space than the plan allowed. That is the moment of truth, and that moment keeps arriving in every country, on every set, with every new cast of people who started out genuinely glad she was there. The mask does not slip. She doesn't allow it. It just, every once in a while, lands on someone else. And by the time they've stopped shaking, she's already smiling for the next camera. So here's where I leave it with you. Poh Ling Yeow has now broken her silence, and what she's revealed, not just in what she said, but in what she carefully didn't say, is something Australia is not going to forget in a hurry. Drop your answer in the comments right now. Do you believe Poh? Do you think this is the last time we'll see a story like this coming from a Meghan Markle production? And how many names does it take before the pattern becomes impossible to ignore? Because I've been counting, and I've stopped being surprised. The only question left is who's next. If this video told you something the headlines didn't, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach people who are asking the same questions you are. Subscribe if you haven't already, because the next one is coming in just a couple of days. And trust me, you'll want to be here for it. The Montecito marriage whispers. The photo timing questions nobody in California will ask out loud. The solo chapter that insiders say is already being quietly planned. That one drops very soon. This is Star Spotlight, where the silence always says more than the statement.